Yes, guys, so in this video, I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible and as precise and as direct as possible. Just a little bit of analysis of every goal they scored, why it happened, how it happened, our shape off the ball, our shape on the ball, what were the issues, how did they exploit us, and how did they win the game? And in times, how did they dominate? Let's just get straight into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the role of these two. Now, as a midfielder in this position, when you play it from the back, there will be a time where, as you can see, they will play a high three. It's they're playing a 4-3. They'll play a high three and they'll block out anything in these areas. They won't allow you to keep passing it from centre back to centre back. So this is where the two options should be: back to the goalkeeper, out wide, or a third run from the central midfielder. The issue here, and I will show you in a second, is the lack of that run from the central midfielder. It was more of a slow jog towards the ball. What you need an instant movement, a quick movement to create a gap between you and the guy behind you, so then you can play out, bounce it off you, and then go out wide, because that was the only way we could play out, and we weren't doing that. And I'll show you why. So Pascal has the ball here. He passes it, no options on, goes back to the goalkeeper. Now this is the position I'm talking about. Second Elan has that ball. You can see. You can go back to Pascal here. You can go to Liam Cooper, but Armstrong is watching that. That's the trigger. The second Pascal gets that ball, Alcaraz and them two are tucking in onto him. The third man option is this central midfielder here, who has the space to receive the ball in these areas. However, there is a guy next to him. So what he needs to do, and that's is the trigger, the second Elan has that ball, is to be a quick instinctive movement, just 2 or 3 yards into this position. The second you do that, not only are you beating their press, but you're not under pressure because you've instinctively ran forward to receive the ball from Elan. You've got 2 or 3 yards from the guy behind you. And then you can play it out to Sam Byram, who's free all the time on this left side. We did not do that. The issue was we didn't do that. There was so much hesitation. Look, this is a second later. There's still no movement from that midfield. They're still stood there waiting for something to happen between the centre-backs. But there isn't going to be anything because they're instantly 3 in front. There's no way out for these centre-backs unless there's movement deeper in the position, deeper in midfield. So Elan goes back to Pascal. Look at the triggers now. You're caved in here. That's the problem. And your goalkeeper is playing higher up than both your centre-backs. Again, where's the movement in this area? And this is a problem as well with having Pascal at right-sided centre-back. Everything is unbalanced for him. He needs to be on this side. That's where he's better. Everything's down this area here. You see it again. There's the gap. Pascal is literally looking in this area. He's looking for that quick movement from Glenn Kamara. Ampadu's made the movement up, but again, it's not decisive enough. It's too laboured. It's too slow. There's no quick 1-2. This side, that side. Jolt backwards, then go forwards. Simple stuff that you learn when you're 8 or 9. There was none of that. It was too passive. We're almost expecting someone else to receive the ball. All while, just off screen, Sam Byram is stood in acres of space. All it needs is that pass into this area. Kamara needs to get to the ball first. If you instinctively know that's where you need to be, you're 2 or 3 yards in front of the defender, it's just a ball out wide. And Sam Byram, then you broke the press. You got 4 or 5 of their players out of it. We didn't do that. That was the issue. Now there's hesitation on Pascal. Nothing there. No option. 0. Back to the goalkeeper. And then suddenly they are advanced and you're in trouble. Another instinct. We've gone down that right side with no prevail. So Pascal has had that ball. Now he goes back to the goalkeeper. But again, it's the same area from the midfield. This time Ampadu. It's such a slow, laboured run towards Meslier. He's in no position to want or receive the ball. This has to be a quick sprint. The second that ball goes back to Meslier, it has to be a quick sprint. Because then all you need to do when he receives that ball is just to turn out and give the ball out to Sam Byram. And you've beaten the press again. There. This is the situation. The calmness. Ampadu is too laboured in this position. He has to be that quick sprint for 2 or 3 seconds to be a few more further yards up, and then literally you're out. You're out. You've beaten their press. They've got 3 or 4 guys out the game. That's all it takes. The second that ball has gone here, this is where the instinctive or the natural instinct should be. If you work on this every day at training, Ampadu receives. Simple stuff. If it's a quick movement from Ampadu, he's got 4 or 5 yards from this guy. A quick bounce pass from Ampadu out to here. It's not difficult. What do? We give it back to Elan again for the second time in 30 seconds, and he boots it long, and we lose possession of the ball, leading to what is the build-up of their goal, which we'll get into now. So this is where the press is questioned for me. So the problem here, biggest problem I have with this, it wasn't quite a press and it wasn't quite a mid or low block. It was somewhere in between. It's like a high block. We stood high up the pitch trying to cut lines. It didn't work. We were too slow with it. I don't know what the instruction was. That's the issue. I don't know what Farker wanted them to do. I don't know if they did it wrong or they did exactly what he said. But what I actually like here about Jorginho is cutting this off. So you're making them go down a cul-de-sac, which means you're setting a trap. The issue is the trigger for that trap was non-existent, or we were not quick enough to react. Jorginho does the right thing. It makes Bednarek go this side, cuts all this off. Then you've got 3 guys covering this area, so you can set them into these traps here, like that. Good. Now it's the second phase. The second he passes that ball, you should expect that was what's going to happen, because that's the part. That's what you've done. You've cut this pitch off to make him go down this cul-de-sac. Now's the issue. We were not quick enough in reaction to this. And this is where the false 9 came into it, and this is where I don't think we were prepared already for the false 9. So they dropped Trey Adams and they brought Alcaraz in. And all he did was play false 9. He was the 9, but he'd drop in, like this situation here. Here he is. So that was, well, who's marking him? So we decided quickly and early that was a centre-back, which is fine, because obviously, as you see, they played 4-3-3. We played 4-2-3-1, so they naturally have an overload in there. And now they have even more of an overload with Alcaraz, so it had to be a centre-back realistically, unless you totally shuffled it around. Who did that thing? Who followed him? But the problem is, we were not quick enough to react to that movement. This was the trap. This is where you win the ball. You took him down a cul-de-sac, and you isolate in here. You win this ball. We didn't. We were 2 or 3 steps off it. Now, the issue then, if you don't win the ball in here, if you do, you're ready, because you have these 3 guys ready to run into these spaces. If you don't, Alcaraz drops in, you can see the areas in which they can exploit you. Down this side. And that's what they did. Because we were ready. 6 men, by the way, close around the ball, almost like you're waiting, you've set that trap. The execution of it was not good enough. And it is a trap, otherwise there wouldn't be 6 guys this close to the ball waiting to win the ball back. We weren't quick enough. Alcaraz takes 2 or 3 touches, then Pascal is close to him. But by that time, they've left the gaps on the wide area for Walker-Peters to just run into. Because look how narrow we are. Now you're in this position. You've lost a centre-back. Ampadu is recovering in that position. So the communication, the partnership isn't there, because your centre-back partner isn't there. Now the problem comes here. From this position, realistically, you have enough to defend. Let's be real. What Armstrong does very well, and I talked about this in my video, which we should... Oh, so frustrating. What Armstrong did very well is moving off that last man. He's excellent at it. He does it every week. He could score many goals from doing this in the season, and he will do that. All he does is the blind side of Cooper. Now, this is where the communication between the centre-back partnership is vital. However, the partnership of the centre-back is here, because he pushed up with Alcaraz, who's now in acres of space, with Kamara lagging behind him. This is the reaction to it. He goes inside a Cree too easily. And now you can see Smallbone's made that 3rd man run, which has enticed Cooper to go tight to him, because Kamara is now trying to cover Chris Somerville, who didn't get tight enough to Walker-Peters. Pascal, who is still not back yet. So this is where the confusion comes in. This is where the communication happens. Ampadu has to tell Cooper to drop left shoulder. Forget this. This can be the fullback. The issue is the guy on the blind side of the centre-back. And the communication, which we don't know, let's be real, people can blame Cooper, people can blame whoever they want, is the communication in this situation. He's on the blind side of Cooper. There's nothing Cooper can do in this situation but cut the passes out. But if he doesn't know where he is, because he's not been told, you're in trouble. What can you do? There has to be communication here. And he has to tell him, left side, left shoulder, drop. But he doesn't, obviously. Otherwise, he would have done it. And that's a communication issue. Not good enough from Cree. Kamara's position isn't the best. He's trying to recover because Cree's not done enough in this position. Sam Byram's watching Smallbone. No one is talking about Armstrong. Ampadu is clearly looking here. Clearly looking in these areas. No one's looking at him. He's on the blind side of the defender. This way your partner has to tell you to drop. And all it is, because of that, ideally, look, Kamara's tried to cover that space. in here, but I don't think he has to. Kamara has to be a little bit more further out. Notice the threat. Make it a 3v2 in this area. It's a 2v2. You don't really want that. It's a 3v2 here. You're fine. Cover this area. Make it a 3v3 and a 3v3. And then you're fine. It doesn't. And now the issue is this. This little gap goes through. Ampadu is still looking at this guy, and I've watched it back. He does not once look at Armstrong. The question is the communication. And it's all right to blame people, I get it. But there has to be communication. If he's running the blind side of Cooper, he can't then turn the other way. He has to face the ball. He has to realise where the ball is going, the direction of the ball. He's run off the blind side of him. The ball should not be going through this little gap. This is where both of them, and it's on both of their strong feet, by the way, have to recognise that. Stan Byram can see him in his periphery. Surely. He can see him there. Practically looking at him. You have to react. He's still on Cooper's blind side. It's so difficult when someone's behind you. That's where communication is key. And I'll keep saying this. It's not good enough from either, for anyone. From Kamara, potentially. Trout did that run up there. Ampadu is the communication. I don't think there is. Has Byron recognised this run? I don't think he has. Cooper can't see him. Should he come over quick enough? Probably. But again, he can't see him. He's literally stood behind him. Since 3 seconds ago, he's been on his blind side. That's where the communication has to come in between these two guys who can see the whole picture. Not good enough. Go straight through the middle of them and then look at this position. You're done. Is he offside? Don't know. Don't care. Doesn't matter. It's not good enough. The communication is off. Again, Pascal carrying the ball out on that right side. He's going down the cul-de-sac. There's nothing on down here. And this is where it's got to be that quick movement, that quick thinking. There should be 3 options, right? Realistically, there should be 3 options. This is what we talk about for me in my team. My team. Team I'm at. My team, I wish. I don't. Anyway, there should be 3 options. In this position, don't play into pressure. It's basic stuff. It's simple stuff. Don't play into pressure. This isn't on. This is marked. Don't play into it. I'm saying go back. Play back out. Go back across to the goalkeeper. Play wide again. Didn't do that. We rushed everything and played into pressure. Passes it into pressure again. He reads the ball. Of course he does, because they've got an overload. It's 3v2 in this area. You're not going to get through it. Turn back out. Play back. Go back if you have to. Be patient. Do you not trust each other? That's the question. What happened? Is there enough movement from the front? Probably not. Is there enough movement from the midfield? Again, those triggers. Don't think so. This is one. It worked. And this is what we needed to do constantly, but we didn't. Shaq has the ball here. Realises there's nothing on down the cul-de-sac. So all he does is turn out and go back. Back to Pascal. And this is what I like. The second Pascal has it, Kamara this time realises the trigger. So what he does, he puts a 2 or 3 yard sprint into this position. Will Smallbone is 4 or 5 yards behind him. There it is. Right there. There's that quick sprint. Now look at the different picture that brings to the game. Pascal finds him. This is the position we had to be in. This is the position we had to do earlier. This is it right here. He's got that one in position. Now look at the picture. These two are out of it. One pass, Smallbone's out of it. Ball out to Byram. You've spread the whole pitch. You've got full width again. You're not stuck down a cul-de-sac. Just being patient and smart with it. And the midfield, recognising those triggers and playing in those positions quickly to then turn and come out. It's simple stuff, honestly, guys. Now you have the space. Now you have the time to play. The areas to play. Now, because of that, you are stretching them. And when you stretch them, that leaves gaps and areas to exploit, like I said here. That's all from one move from Kamara. Just a little bit of movement. And then this is the picture. Pascal, look how stretched they are now. They don't know whether to go out there. They don't know whether to go out there. That leaves gaps. Hero drops into that gap. Pascal finds the pass. Suddenly you're 2v1 out wide. And a bit of quality, you can get a goal from it. It's that simple at times. It really is. And we didn't do that nowhere near enough. Like, it was bad how little we did that. Now you're in this position. One good ball into this area. 2 or 3 guys in the box. The goal for you. Football's basic at times, people, which is overcomplicated all the time. This is what I liked, and this is what we didn't do enough of again. Pascal, same position from the goalkeeper. We draw the press. Now, people talk about Cooper and how he wasn't the best at passing out, so they realised that Adam Armstrong, who is their highest guy by far, he sat on Cooper a lot of the game. Pascal had more of a free role, which I'd have thought they'd done the opposite, because Pascal is really good playing out from the back. And what we did here, we were patient. We went back to the keeper. We went wide with our fullbacks. We created space in midfield. Ampadu moves out the way. And we play a ball straight through their entire midfield into Rutter. One pass, one little bit of movement, patience. That's all it took. It was a terrible touch, and they won it back. But the idea is here. What Rutter can do now, his first touch goes straight out to Chris Somerville. You have all of these players out of their game. All their midfield. An attack. Gone. From one pass. That's all it took. We didn't do it. We were not brave enough. The movement wasn't good enough. It wasn't sharp enough. It wasn't quick enough. That was the problem throughout the game. Same. Last situation. Like I said. This is what we had to do and we didn't. He'll has the ball. What do? Do we wait? Kamara's not in play yet. He's not active. But he becomes active like that. And that's what we needed more of. Patience. Still not active. Just a little bit of movement. Now he's active. Now he's got all this space. By 3 or 4 quick steps to the left. That's all football takes. That's the trigger. Boom. Look at the width. You've beaten their press. Look at the width now. Look at the spaces we've got. A little bit of movement. So now this is where the confusion came in for the second goal. Look, this is Alcaraz again. No, this isn't Alcaraz this time. This is Armstrong this time. Kind of playing in between the lines. Dan James doesn't know whose man that is. Pascal's doesn't know whose man that is. The trigger here should be the second he has this ball. The second Manning has that ball. That should be the press. But we couldn't do that because there was confusion as to whose man this is, which means he hesitated, which means Dan James wasn't tight enough to Manning. They get the ball in this position now. This should have been the trigger. The second Manning gets that ball, Dan James should be on him. Straight away. Tight. They just had so much space to play it. So much time in these areas. He passed it back to Bednarak, and within one pass, he just bypassed these two out wide. And then suddenly, they're on our back line. It's that simple. It was not aggressive enough. It was not quick enough. And now you're in trouble. Because you've got Sulamara on your back line. You've got Armstrong and Alcaraz on your back line. And you're in big trouble. Smallbone scores. Crease tracking him. Not good enough. Still not tight enough. It comes from that intensity from the start. Being aggressive. Going to press. Not the hat. We didn't even sit in a block. I don't mind if you sit in a block, but we didn't. It was like a mix. It wasn't good enough. It didn't work. In this game, it didn't work. Keeper's played literally a 30-yard pass. Sam Byram's had about 5-6 seconds. Well, about 3 or 4 seconds to react. We're just not tight enough. This is where the third goal comes from. This is the start of the move. Not tight enough in this position. He's behind my head. Yeah. Nowhere near tight enough. All he's done, he's took a touchdown. Still no one on him. He's gone back. And what we've done this time, here's their overload in midfield. He's gone back to Walker Peters. He's their overload in midfield. This time a centre-back has not gone for him for some reason. We've not moved him on. Because Smallbone played higher up, so they wasn't sure about covering. But this time, Ampadu's in no man's land. Don't know why he needs to be there. Probably to stop the overload on this side. But now the overload is in midfield because we've not adapted properly. So Alcaraz gets the ball in acres of space. And now you're in a bad situation because now it's 2v2 at the back and a 1v1 out wide because of that. What's going on here? Again, communication. That word, again. Both of them don't speak or whatever, say the same thing and decide to follow the runner. Basic stuff. It's so basic. Beyond belief. So basic. There's both followed the man. Sulamara's suddenly got all this space. And he has about 10 seconds to pick a ball out to Armstrong, which somehow, again, goes through the gap here. Ampadu don't get there quick enough. Goes through the gap here and straight to Armstrong. Sam Byram's not anticipated the pass again. He's put himself in a bad... Now what? Now you're in trouble. You're 1v1 at the back post. So basic errors. Just understanding whose man it is. And it's that man Alcaraz again, playing that false 9, dropping in midfield. This time a centre-back didn't go with him because they put Smallbone higher up, which means Cooper was waiting to cover if Sam Byram went tight to Armstrong, which he didn't. So, lack of communication. lack of understanding how to adapt. We didn't adapt. Took us till half time. Second half, we were different. Not good enough. 3 goals that are, for me, easily avoidable. But look, sometimes you need these days. These days help you realise that there is problems that you need to cover. Teams have these days. Every team will have these days where it's kind of, there's some blatant errors here. Changes will be made. Changes have to be made. They will be. Look, you can talk about individuals all you like. This is a team performance. This is a team game. There's a lot more problems in this situation than just a Liam Cooper that people keep crying about. Look, he didn't look confident on the ball. They played Armstrong on him for that purpose because they knew that. Struggled to play out from the back. There was no balance at the back. The team was so passive, out of possession. There was not a lot of movement. There was no progressive runs. It didn't look like a Daniel Farke team. We were outclassed in terms of movement. They moved everywhere. We didn't move. We were so passive. They created overloads in every area of the pitch. The false 9 thing did us. We didn't know how to react until the second half, and we dealt with it. And Byram in the second half did play slightly higher up, slightly more involved in play. But yeah, central midfielders at times too passive, didn't want the ball in them areas where they should get it, where they usually get it. Not good enough. All in all, every individual, not good enough. We will learn from this. We will come back stronger from this, and we need to see 2 back-to-back brilliant performances to get over this one because it was not good enough on the day. Every team in every league has these days. The overreaction is boring, to be honest with you. It's errors, basic errors that we've not done for a while, but we did today. We couldn't deal with them tactically. We couldn't. They outsmarted us today. And I mean the manager, I mean the players, I mean the application of what they should have done on the pitch. They did it better. We were not good enough. We'll learn from this. We'll come back stronger, just like they have. They've lost 4 in a row before this game. They changed things up. Switched it around a bit, and it worked for them. Yeah, nothing to overthink about. Look, 2 big games coming up. Let's perform. Let's take these mistakes away, and let's work hard to be better. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate the support. Yeah,